Welcome to part 5. Tonight, what we're going to do is start to add the actual weathering of the paint. So, as this is beat up, we're going to show that some of the paint along these edges, along these sort of edges here, have worn down. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use my old favourite, which is Dusky Skin. Wrong one. Yep. Now a lot of people use burnt umber, but this is my go-to. That's my go-to colour. And then we're going to mix some of the leafy green in, which is our base coat colour, and then touch it up a little. And that should hopefully smooth the shading out. Now this technique is really about heavily weathered vehicles, like really heavily weathered vehicles. Because not all of them peel paint. I think a lot of times we over weather. And I think that happens a lot at shows. I think that if you do a really nice, pristine plane or tank, okay, I understand tanks a little bit, the judges might well mark you down, even if it's brilliantly done, because it's not what they want. And I think that's a little sad. I mean, it just depends on the kit, right? It should be judged on its own merits, not... I mean, unless it's in a category where it's meant to say, it has to be weathered. I mean, there might be categories. If you're doing a diorama, then, sure, but... I've heard stories of people doing CAG planes and getting told they didn't weather them, and the CAG planes tended to be more showy than the workhorses. Just get the excess off. Now you can dry brush metal, like a silver, and that's a really popular technique. The only thing is that by doing the silver, it always implies that there's a bare metal finish underneath, and I think sometimes that's accurate and that's actually smart, but I think other times that might be not be as accurate. That also means that if there was an undercoat, that it has eaten through it. And that's a fair bit of weathering. And then if it's been that much like time that it's been able to wear it all the way down to its undercoat, would it stay silver for long? Because that's when it might actually really start to rust, because there'd be no protection on that bare metal. So I'm not always sure that doing a dry brush silver is a really good way to, to do the weathering. Again, we don't want this too uniformed. We don't want it to look, because if it looks ordered, it'll always look fake. So I'm trying to not do nice straight lines. Trying to follow areas where it would weather, but I'm not trying to do it all in a uniformed way. I want to try to keep it a bit random. And if you put too much, like I just did, dab off the extra onto your hand or a towel, paper towel, and then use the brush to soak some of that paint back up. Try not to do it exactly the same on the other side. It's sometimes easy, if you like doing it a certain way, you come to the second side and you do it exactly the same way or very close to. Try to mix it up just a little so that it's not exactly the same. Okay. So now we're going to try to mix there we go. So now we have in the middle, it's green, which is our base coat, mixed with the dusky. And what we're trying to do is add some of this in. Now this is all simulated weathering because this is a small size, on a 135 tank, you'd do a lot of this differently, I think. But because we're small, part of this is to try to help it blend a little bit better, so it's not such a harsh line, but it's also trying to just harmonize these colours a little bit and just give it a bit of a smoother feel. Now, this works a little better on something like a dreadnought because you've got bigger panels, and you typically don't water down the paint as much. If I'm doing it on the dreadnought, I didn't water it down as much on the second one. Because it's trying to show more paint peeled back when I did the dreadnought. This one I'm trying to show more wear rather than it peeling back. Hopefully where I'm going to end up is going to be where I want to be. Because the only problem with these techniques, these sort of style of techniques, is it's a lot of working up to a point. So you sort of have to have faith that you're going to get there, that where you're heading with it is where you're going to actually want to be. And that's tricky for beginners because they can't always picture that. It's getting there. I have a plan. I do have a plan. It's all part of the plan. It's probably a little over ambitious with this one. And as I was trying to help Louis with basic techniques, I've probably bollocks that up by getting into some heavier weathering, but you know, oh well. Louis, hopefully you're learning something, and if anyone else is learning anything, then even if it's from a mistake that I end up making or have made, then that's alright too. Sometimes if you don't try crap, you can't screw up. No, that's not the lesson, is it? The moral of the story is don't screw up. No, that's not really the moral, is it? If you're gonna screw up, have Chris around, because at least you'll have a laugh. Okay. So there we go. Hopefully that's showing you the general idea. I'm going to leave that to dry properly now, and then tomorrow I'll actually start using pigments and start dirtying the wheels, actually putting mud in and stuff like that. I still got to do a little bit of extra weathering on the grenades and the blankets and that, just to give them a little bit more definition. I still got to paint the flag and the gun, and then the dude. But we're getting there. We are definitely closer than we were before. Have a good one, guys. Please tell me that was good.